Hi, I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio, and welcome to the Mayor's Roundtable, intelligent conversation around a semi-round table telling you, the citizens of Berkeley Heights, what you need to know and deserve to know from your mayor, Robert Woodruff. Mayor, nice to see you today, and Happy New Year. First show of 2018.
Yep, first show.
So it's a little brisk outside, but I don't think we have any shovels in the ground yet for the redevelopment, correct?
That's correct. Nothing in the ground yet, but some things to report tonight with respect to where we stand on the redevelopment of the township property, as well as what is generally known as a Hamilton property, but everyone knows it as the church property. Our request for proposals with respect to the church property up on Hamilton is expected to go out in the middle of next week.
Wow, great.
And that basically says, okay, this is what we are doing. This is what the redevelopment plan says. Who is interested? So, and our planner is very optimistic that we'll get some very, very good responses on that, so we'll see. In the meantime,
who's interested in terms of who wants to bid for the job to develop it and take it over?
Correct. Now,
because that's really not the town's objective, is to develop that piece of property.
No. Well, it is ultimately is insofar as it connects up to our redevelopment and our affordable housing requirements. For example, our planners foresaw possibly 100 units there. Well, we operate on that 100 units in order to get the percentage that we need for our affordable housing.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean that these developers can't come in with obviously a finer eye than we have, and maybe get 120 units in there. But that's up to the professionals, right? So, and also with respect to the municipal complex here, our proposals went out. There was a walkthrough about a week and a half ago or so with those who are interested. Okay. And there are interviews. The proposals are due in. So in other words, their submittals are due in on or about the 9th of February. And just to remind everybody, there is no requirement that we take the lowest bidder. Okay. Our professionals will determine who they think the best maybe group of 3 or 4 are, go to a second short list, as we would call them, and then ask them to sharpen their pencils and come on down to a final number. And we may or may not conduct subsequent interviews just to make sure. And hopefully we'll get to the public in a council meeting sometime in mid-April. I think there's an April 17th council meeting. If that's the case, then hopefully we're shooting for that, so we can report to the people, this is what we decided and this is why we decided it. We'll have all our professionals here to answer any questions that they think may be appropriate. So that's, things are getting closer.
Now, I know we have a project manager on staff for this. Is he pretty much spearheading this component of it, or is it pretty much going right to the township committee?
Well, no, it's no one on the township committee or council other really than Mike DeQuilla, who has direct understanding and knowledge as a project manager himself, has ever done this before. So that's why we have professionals. And our project manager, who was selected in concert with recommendations from our professionals, including Mike DeQuilla, John Basicolo, as well as Mike Mistretta and everybody involved. So we have a project manager. And our agreement with that project manager is such that if there is a reason not to have a project manager anymore, there's a timely approach that we can utilize, as can he, as can they, if appropriate. But so far, I think it's been a successful interaction between us and them, and so we're looking forward to where we're going. So right now you look outside and you can't build much of anything right now with the ground being rock hard. But as you all know, it all begins with the salt dome. So we've got to take advantage of what we can get done, hopefully when the weather breaks. Because when the weather breaks, we will be in a position to start. Okay, and then once that salt dome goes up, the new one goes up, the old one goes down, and then we're going. Then we're going. So
very nice. Very nice.
We're looking forward to that. So.
And Springfield Avenue, everything looks pretty good. We had Mike Mistretta here on the last show. He went over all the different zones. That sounds like that's relatively organized. Any changes?
No changes.
Updates with that?
And our master plan, we hope to get to the public within the next couple months.
Oh, wow, great.
Yeah. So again, that's a tie-in of everything, as Mike said, a tie-in of everything we're trying to do. Including what the redevelopment is and so on and so forth. But we hope to be able to, to come to the public with that and what have you.
Pilot program?
Well, the pilot program, we have a pilot program in about 3 or 4 of our current circumstances. I would want to report also from an affordable housing standpoint, the last of the interveners, and that is developers who sought to come in, after the final bell, so to speak.
All right.
We have settled with them.
All right.
Okay. That particular issue was not going to impact our judgment of repose. We had that anyway. But now everybody's under the same order.
All right.
So that has just really come to bear fruition in the last 2 or 3 days. And I want to thank our professionals for that. That's the property commonly known as the Spats property, which is at the end of Lone Pine Drive.
All right.
Okay, so if you're standing on Springfield looking down Lone Pine about 400 or 500 yards, you can see it. And that's that property. So that property will be developed consistent with everything else that we're doing with all our other developers, as to density, as to height, as to the various requirements that they adhere to that we've put through with respect to the colors and all the kinds of things that. So that's done.
Nice.
That's
nice.
done.
Nice.
So now, and people need to understand something, that the town has one major obligation in redevelopment, and that is to provide the opportunity for the redevelopment in affordable housing.
Got it.
Okay, just to provide it. I mean, we cannot control whether a developer decides to actually develop on property which he or she has purchased. That's up to them. All we can do is say, this is how you can develop this under this plan. And it's been accepted by the court. So beyond that, it's really up to the developers. So.
Well, that sounds pretty good. It sounds like things are moving nicely in that vein. A lot of work. Hopefully it's all going to fall into place in the next few months, and we'll be able to get a shovel in the ground and keep moving forward and get some money from that Hamilton property to offset our other costs to keep those bond obligations very low. That's ultimately the goal.
That's our goal, and it's a nice segue, Doc, because when you talk bonds, you talk money. And tonight we're going to have Council President Gene Kingsley join us.
Oh, that'd be great.
Gene's going to talk a little bit about budget process and about how we go about putting the budget together.
Everybody wants to know that. Where's our money going?
Where's it going, and how's it being accounted for? So after our break, that's what's coming next.
Sounds like a plan for the Mayor, Robert Woodruff. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. We're going to break for the Community Corner segment now to find out what's happening in town. Then when we come back, we're going to find out about the President of the Council with Gene Kingsley and all about the budget. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Community Corner, where you can find out about what's happening in town and the many volunteer organizations. The YMCA is not really a volunteer organization, but it is a 501c3, correct, Tiffany Escott?
Right.
Yeah. Tiffany's the executive director of the Berkeley Heights branch, the Summit Area Y, and about how much money and free services does the Y give back into the area?
I believe last year we gave out about $1.4 million in subsidized and free programs.
That's great. So that's why I say, why not get involved with the Y? I mean, it's just a no-brainer in my opinion. So what are some of the things we do? I know we're involved with some of the programs at the high school. What are the things we do over there? Yeah,
we have a program that we've been working with for over 5 years. The students with some special needs come to the Y up to 4 times a week, and they learn different skills such as administrative work. They work in our child care center, some maintenance. It's a great opportunity for them to learn those skills to take with them once they graduate from the program.
Sure, that's wonderful. And I think there's also a yoga program for their special needs.
We do. So at the Y, we offer every Friday a free program for all special needs middle school and high school students.
Nice.
We also offer a free program to all of the students at Columbia Middle School on Fridays.
Wow.
It helps them to kind of refocus and kind of de-stress from all the work that they have to do.
Give them some physical activity,
Yes,
I hope,
yes,
too, get them off their
yes,
phones and their
yes.
computers. Health fair, right? We have the health fair.
Yeah, we had a health fair this past year. We had, almost 100 people that came to see the different organizations within Berkeley Heights. You were there, and a lot of the other people in the area were there and participated. So
excellent, excellent. And then I know the Live Strong programs for cancer survivors. That's also a
Yes.
complimentary program.
That's a
correct?
free 12-week program for anyone who's going through cancer, whether they're going through it or it's post-treatment. It's a phenomenal program where you can come to the Y for free and help get back to that new normal.
It sounds like community participation in community service is integral, and the why. Would you agree with that?
It's very important. We're here to serve the community. So, we are a fitness and we do have a child care program, but we do so much more for the community, and it's very important.
And I know the Mother's Day 5K is one of the largest events in the town. We get over 1,000 people to come out and run in that every year too, so it's another event.
Yeah. So this year we're going to be marking our 16th year with the Mother's Day 5K, and we raise money. This year, all the money will go towards our Live Strong program to support that. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Like I said, why not support the Y? Tiffany Escott, Executive Branch Director of Summit Area, Berkeley Heights Branch Y. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe Savino from the Berkeley Heights Volunteer Rescue Squad. This is our fund drive month. Please, when those envelopes come in the mail, please open them and give generously. Thank you.
Welcome back to the show, and it's the Mayor's Roundtable, but now we have our City Council President with us as well, right?
No, that's who I asked, and she was kind enough to say, sure.
Okay, I think that's it.
That's it.
Gene Kingsley, thanks for coming out tonight.
My
We
pleasure.
really
Great to
appreciate
see
it.
you, Dr.
Happy
D.
New Year.
Same to you.
Mayor, you mentioned budget time, important stuff.
Well, let me just say this, Doc, and a lot of people don't realize that the council has many different obligations under the statute, but its primary obligation is they are the keeper of the funds, so to speak. All right, so it's coming up on budget time, and I thought it was appropriate to let the people know exactly how this council in the last 5, 6, 7 years has gone about approaching the budget and the needs of the town and how we do it. And Jean's been involved in multiple budgets, and her professional background lends itself to that. So who better person?
Well, Gene, thanks for coming out. Sounds perfect. One question, because I know I'm on some volunteer boards, and they talk about fiduciary responsibility and how important it is for people on these volunteer boards to really, really make sure you're not squandering, using, misappropriating funds. Does the same type of thing happen at the council level?
Absolutely. It's mission critical. And as the governing body, we really have 3 things to think about when a budget comes forward. It's, do we want it? And if we do want it, is there a policy on the books that allows us to have it? So we have to look at the ordinances and the resolutions and make sure something people are asking for actually is legal. Is it a priority? There's a lot of things that all of our departments and all of our residents want, but to say just like your children, you don't get everything you want every year. Sometimes you have to give it to your brother. So we have to prioritize. And last is, can we afford it?
Okay.
So you have to kind of look at all of that, and then if the answer is yes to all 3, then you have to figure out, can you put it in the budget to actually make it happen, so you could in fact put it in place and accomplish the
In the budget, we're still on that annual cap, correct?
annual. So far, there is still a 2% cap in the operating budget. There's a couple of exclusions to that, but in general, year over year, you cannot raise your taxes more than 2%.
Okay.
So it helps
fine
to
line.
keep fine line, very fine line. So and it's tough. So when you look at the way we've changed the budget over the years, we talk a lot about fixed costs. Then we have something that we call non-discretionary operating, because a lot of things that I would call fixed cost, some people might argue are not fixed, but they're really not optional, because we have contracts, we have union negotiations, so they're costs that we're going to incur no matter what. And then we have what we call pure discretionary, which is what you can choose to take out and spend based upon the priorities you want to have, and they change year over year.
Now, first of all, I want to thank you for serving as council president again. I know you took last year off, so we appreciate you stepping back up, because this year with the redevelopment, I think there's going to be a lot going on, so we need somebody at the helm
There's a lot
got a
lot
pretty good
happening.
feel for what's going on. So I think your experience is going to be well needed this year. So thanks for stepping up.
My
Doc,
pleasure.
let me point Gene in a direction which I think needs to be cleared up. We have, in the last 5 or 6 years, and Gene and I were elected together as council people about 7, 8 years ago, Gene? How long
Six.
ago? Six,
6
okay.
years ago.
And we shared the thought that we really needed to go to, more strictly, so to speak, to what's known as zero-based budgeting. And Gene, talk about that and how you have to do the approach we take on a local level.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people think what happens is you have your budget, and I'm a department, I come in and I say, okay, here's what I spent last year, so now I can just have 2% more.
Yeah.
And that is not how we operate at all. So the way that we go about building the budget is every year, basically, our CFO puts together the department sheets and their line-by-line expenditures, and he'll give them what they spent for the last 2 years, actual. Then he will give them this year's year-to-date actual spend plus the budget. And then he will give them a blank column for the next year. So when he started the budget process back in October, they got the prior 2 years, 2017 for the first 9 months, and a blank column for the 2018. And then they have to basically justify any dollar that goes into that 2018 column. It is not a given that they get anything based upon the year before. And what will happen is, they start with that. That's a negotiating point. Each department builds their budget from scratch. And it's really, again, they're non-discretionary, fixed, and their pure discretionary is what they're asking for. And then there's a series of meetings where the CFO and the administrator will sit down with each department head, and they really kind of, they duke it out because it's up to the CFO to defend those numbers before ever bringing them forward to the council. So by the time we even see an initial draft, it's been scrubbed, and both the administrator and the CFO felt that it's a priority and it's a need, and it fits in to the overall picture of what the town needs to accomplish.
Sounds great. Now, I mean, I don't remember my high school algebra as well as I should, but if everybody asked for 2% on their budget, that's a lot more than cumulative 2% like compounds. It's not 2% of
Well, and the
the
complicating
overage.
piece is we have unions,
Yeah.
and we have union contracts. And so within there are, guaranteed salary increases that get built in. So, and not all of those are 2% or less.
Yeah.
So the problem is you're going in already with some fixed costs that are above that 2%. So we have to find savings in other areas to make up for some of that.
So how do you do that?
It's as I said, we have a really good CFO, we have a really good administrator. I think we are trying to make people be more efficient. We look for ways to share services. We're doing more with the Board of Ed. And that it comes down to priorities. And that's one of the things that's always hard for residents to hear, but we don't have a finite amount of cash. Yeah. And we just can't go out and raise the taxes to whatever it would do everything. So we have to prioritize and make choices, and they're not always the most popular.
One of the things that we have hammered home to our department heads is we don't want to see a wish list, okay? And that also goes into the capital, which Gene will talk about shortly. But we decided within about the last 2 or 3 years that instead of sitting here and myself and Gene and the rest of the council and the mayor sitting there saying, well, what are you spending $32.50 on this for? That's not productive. All right, we have a business administrator and a CFO. They know what needs to be spent. They see the bills. All right, they know exactly what it costs. So, if last year you used $100 worth of you asked for $100 worth of paper clips and used 30, don't come in and ask for $100 worth of paper clips because we have a history. So that's really we rely on them, and we've gotten some discipline into that process because the department heads now. They know that they've got to get, and if they don't put it out there, well, we're not going to pull it out of a bag for them and give it to them. All right, so that's been working out very, very well, and like Gene said, that's because we have trust in who we've hired to do that. And
but I do think, even on that top, I think our departments, because of the whole budget, I mean, it used to be each department came in by themselves, and it was a wish list. They did their presentation, they asked for everything, and we didn't have a full-time CFO that really embraced this project. And I think since we've had our CFO and our administrator that really work with them, and it really is from the ground up, there are times when our DPW guys take a step back and they say, no, our police department needs this more. we'll wait. We'll do without. You know, they really do operate like a family, and they understand each other's roles in the family, and they make compromises because they get the priority. And that didn't happen when I first got elected 6 years ago.
What about for our residents? Is there transparency in this process? I mean, you know, how can the residents know what's going on besides?
Come to the budget meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we beg people to come to the meetings, and I don't think we've ever had more than 5 residents show up for a budget meeting. So what is going to happen is, as I said, you know, this started back in October. Our CFO and administrator are still working through the process. They will then get to a budget that they put together where they think works, and they'll sit down with a select few of us from the council, because we have to, for state mandated reasons, have a finance committee. So the finance committee has to look at it first. And then once the finance committee looks at it and brings it through, then it'll come forward to the council. But the council really only sees it with the public at the same time. Oh, really? So the public can come to those meetings. They are scheduled now, I think, for March. They're on the calendar. They're going to be on Monday nights.
There are 3 of them, I believe.
Yeah. And usually what we do is we do one night to talk about the operating budget, which is, again, those day-to-day, you know, just fixed, non-discretionary and discretionary spending. And then we spend a separate night talking about the capital budget. Got it. Because that's kind of the way you do that is a little different. We talk about long-term needs and how
everything's going to be right there, and that's what people want the details. That's what they're going to be.
Correct, and the capital and the discussion concerning capital expenditures is really the most important one, because capital expenditures, anything with a I'll call it a shelf life of 5 years or more. All right, a truck. Okay, start with a fire truck. This is where the hard, serious dollars are spent. Sure. Because we need these things in order to maintain the town. And they're big ticket items. And as Gene is aware, well, let's go to roads, which is clearly an issue. And up until 7 years ago, there was no capital plan to do roads. Now, we've done them. We think we've had opportunities in the last few years to speed them up. Okay. And Gene, talk a little bit about how we go about determining priorities.
Right. So what happened when Bob and I first were elected? There was no capital plan, as he said. So the problem is you could have dramatic spikes in your debt service. So, and that's not an ideal way to impact your taxpayers. So part of our goal was to come up with a capital plan, and we build a 5-year plan so that we can anticipate our needs and try to keep our level of debt service constant. So, which basically means your interest payments run pretty constant, so therefore your tax levy runs very constant. So you try to, you know, take a look at what do I need when, how do I fit it in, and how do I make the math work up so that I'm only borrowing a constant amount year upon year. And because there have been some significant spikes in the past to our residents that nobody really appreciates that surprise at the end.
And a good example of that is our police department. Chief DePasquale has established a pattern now where we are turning over a certain amount of cars every year. Okay, there was a time, as
our first year elected,
absolutely,
6 new cars.
6 new cars. Okay,
Gee, thanks.
Because they hadn't bought a car in 3 years. Yeah. So that was.
That's correct.
That was not good.
So that's where your problems come in.
Yeah. Right.
So now, you know, and the chief understood that, okay, this fulfills his needs. It fits within the, you know, within the confines of our budget, and we move forward. And along the same lines, it's kind of been a running joke for the last 3 or 4 years. The fire department was constantly asking for what was commonly known as a gator. Okay.
Well, the Office of the Emergency Manager.
Yeah. Okay. And it was voted down. It's not that we couldn't use it, but it was a wish list thing. Yeah. Okay. Well, as we've moved on as a town and we see where we're going to grow, the police department sees ways that can be used. Okay. And the first aid squad. So now we've got 3 entities that can use it. So now, and it's not a tremendous expenditure. But we don't
serve 3 purposes.
It can serve 3 purposes, and we're very careful. We don't want to purchase toys, okay? And that gets very attractive when some of these things, you know, we can give our fire department this or that, and it has to have a function, and it has to function for more than one department. And in this instance, it has. So this past year, it was determined to do that. Right.
But and again, I think we have seen our police and our fire and our construction department. They've all traded off for each other. You know, the fire truck needed to be moved up a year so that, you know, other guys waited. And the sewer department, we're just seeing really good partnerships happening because, one, they can look at each other's capital plans. Everything is public. And they understand trade-offs and they understand the needs. Very nice. So it's operating much more, I mean, it's not perfect, but we get better every year. And, you know, things change. It's a rolling 5-year plan. So just because you said 3 years from now you need something, things do change, or issues can change, and hence the roads have really been something that changed because of all the weather. So we've had to make amends and move things around.
And Gene, talk a little bit, if you would. I know we've made this public on more than one occasion. There are a variety of entities feeding at the trough of your tax dollar.
Yes,
And-
I forgot to start with that, but my favorite
Okay,
thing to
go
say
ahead.
is, for the average person, if you're paying us $10,000 in taxes, you're not giving it to Bob and I. 56% of that $10,000, or $5,600, goes to pay the school and support the schools. $2,500, or 25%, goes to the county for their work. 2% goes to the library, and we get 17% of that, or like about $1,700 out of your $10,000. And for that $1,700, you get your police, you get your fire, you get your road maintenance, you get your rec department, you get all of your municipal services for that $1,700 a year. So I think overall, you're getting a pretty good bang for your buck.
I would say so.
I like, people tend to forget that Gene, myself, and all the other elected officials, we're taxpayers. Okay, so we have a vested interest in this just like everybody else. Okay? We're not, free of having to do this, but it's a difficult process.
Yeah.
And I think if you went to somebody and said, "What do you like about Berkeley?" "I like about all these things." I said, "Well, if I told you you're paying $10,000, I'm paying $10,000 a year. Well, if I told you you're only paying $1,700 for that?" They might go, well, they might see things a little differently. Okay, we don't like having to dip into people's pockets. We don't like having to dip into our own pockets. You know, so we're
I
trying.
think it's going to get a little more painful next year.
I think it's going to be.
The new tax laws, but I guess we're really not sure.
We're not sure. A lot of things are going to happen. We don't know what the new governor is going to do and what he's going to seek and what have you. And my response to people is, let's just relax and see where it all goes. Okay.
Give the guy a chance.
Give him a chance,
him a chance.
absolutely.
And then-
We're going to push efficiency. I mean, we are continually looking for ways to be more efficient, or ways to share, partner with the county, partner with the state, partner with the schools.
The county's always been an ongoing problem. We had that issue a few years back on how we're going to deal with them and maybe a sequester. Any other
Well, I
opportunities
think-
in dealing with the county,
No, I
getting
think
a
the-
little bit more back?
No, that I don't know. I mean, look, we all have to deal with each other, okay? And I have to say that the county's been fair, okay? We're not going to get the county system removed, okay? There are 21 separate entities, okay? And that means there's 21 separate employers, okay? So it's not going to be removed. We just try and hope that we can get our fair share of what's necessary to help us function in the town. And I think they've been fair. So I can't argue too much about that. I'd like to get more.
Yeah.
All right. And but it is what it is.
But we are partnering better. I think we've been meeting with them on fields and things that we share common. We're meeting more on roads. How can we share? We've been meeting, with people at the administration level saying, help us find grants. And they've been very receptive. I've been meeting with some of the freeholders. Bob's been going to more county meetings. So we are strengthening that relationship and looking to partner and get support where we can. Excellent. 'Cause that's what we have to do.
Because revenues come from limited sources. Okay. You have taxes. You have your permit fees. Okay, like for example, the hotel, which hopefully will open within the next month and a half, 2 months, they have paid an extensive amount of fees because of the nature of what they're doing. So that's it. Like Gene says, partnering with each other and cutting down on the costs. We're working with the school board, purchasing things, which now allows 1 or 2 people to do what used to take 4 or 5 people. Well, now we have those 3 or 4 more people that can do other things, so we get better efficiency, as Gene said. And that's a credit to our department heads who have worked very hard and they recognize that if they can get us help, they do it. So that's kudos to them.
So, Council President, what's your vision for 2018? I mean, we're talking about budget right now, but as president, you must have some directives, you must have some insights, you must have some things on your hot button.
Yeah, what do I want
So
to
what's your
accomplish
hot
this year?
button?
My hot button is, I think, first and foremost is the selection of the redeveloper for the rebuild of this building and shovels in the ground. I think for 5 years we've talked about a new municipal complex, and the residents need to see some action. So I can't wait to get the developer appointed, to get them here, and to get shovels in the ground and start to see progress on this complex. Paralleling off that, I can't wait to get Hamilton Avenue sold, and I'm hoping we get a nice big fat check, and I'm hoping it's larger than what we anticipate even to help pay for this building. And outside of that, you know, communication is continually a challenge. As you know, technology moves fast, social media is moving fast, so we have to continue to work on ways to enhance and improve our communication as a township. And last is really to look at all of our various departments before we move into the new building and make sure they're really structured to be efficient and to be in this century. So, right, we've got to really kind of, you know, we don't want to move old bad habits into a new building. So we really got to look at each department and make sure we give them the tools to go forward into the new world.
Yeah, I like that. Very good vision. Mayor, how about you?
Well, I spoke a little bit about it the last meeting. Obviously, we share a vision, okay? That's why we've worked together for so long. We need to get things that we have talked about and what the people have had input significantly in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. Now it's time for fruition. Now it's time for the people to see this is what this was all about. And as I've said repeatedly, when this is all over, this is going to be great for this town. Okay, it's going to take a while, and there's going to need to be patience, and there's going to be some construction work going on in various places. But I think we're moving in a great direction. Absolutely, we're moving in a great direction, and we're looking forward to it.
Well, that seems to be the theme. A lot of great things are happening. Council President Kingsley, Mayor Woodruff, thank you very much for your time tonight. And by the way, the hot button for the Communications Committee is that, to get the information out to you. And we're going to do our best to improve it every month if we can, but definitely 2018. That's the communications commitment. So we've all got our hot button items. Let's make it happen. Councilor Kingsley, Mayor. For them both, I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. It's been the Mayor's Roundtable. Thanks for tuning in, and please get it to us, get the questions to the mayor, because we're here to answer your questions. Let us know what you think. Thanks for tuning in.